So all of our ingredients are in the blender. We're going to turn it on. Here we are. Delicious pineapple and cardamom and prune smoothie. I always offer it up with a prayer and say my thanks. Namaste. Lovely. Hello everyone, so we're going to talk about smoothies and the Ayurvedic perspective. So it seems like a great idea, right? I want healthy food, I'm just going to chuck it all in one blender and just go for it, right? And I'm going to get everything I need. But actually healthy smoothies can be like the king of incompatible meals, especially the ice cold, banana, milk-based blender bomb known as the smoothie. So it seems like a great idea, like I said, to kind of just put everything in one jar and you're gone, you know, add some frozen berries, call it a meal. But actually smoothies that are too complicated or too cold are really difficult for the stomach, the gut to handle. It's really bad for the digestion. If you're a dedicated smoothie maker, then I recommend giving your body a bit of a break by observing the following guidelines. So drink your smoothies at room temperature. Try not to make it with ice. If you need it, just instead add a couple of tablespoons of warm water. Take cool fruity smoothies just in hot weather, like summertime, for example. Try to favor fresh, seasonal fruits instead of just frozen ones, for example. Try to keep the smoothies basic, only using about 3 ingredients, and do not mix milk and bananas. Both are mucus forming and they create way too much mucus for the stomach to burn through, so it's just in excess. Instead, add the warming quality of everyday spices, things like sweet spices like cinnamon and cardamom, things like that, that really add that nice sweet quality. Then we have the pineapple smoothie. So this is my amazing teacher, Sharma Masla. She taught me that pineapple is one of the most unique fruits that can actually be eaten with other food categories, along with the fruit papaya. It actually has amazing digestive enzymes. It helps to pacify vata, that air and space elements. It can be a little aggravating to kapha and pitta though. So we're going to take 2 cups of pineapple, 12 soaked prunes that have been soaked for at least 8 hours overnight, ground cardamom and water. And we're simply going to blend it like that. It's very vata balancing, like we said, and it really helps with things like constipation. I've used it for the kids in our family and they just absolutely love it, and I love it too, so I'm sure you will as well. So we're going to cut our pineapple. Don't be intimidated by the pineapple. It's not so complicated as you'd think. There's just some basic elements to remember. So I'm going to take the top off. Make sure that you have a nice sharp knife and one that's an appropriate size. Okay, we'll get rid of that. Okay, and the bottom. When I used to work in kitchens, the chefs always said you should use a knife that's appropriate for the size of the vegetable or the item that you're using. So it will just make your life much easier. So there we have. We're not going to use the center of the stalk. That's quite difficult to digest. So instead, we're going to peel using our knife. Okay. Trying to get these prickly bits off as best as possible. And I'll show you another trick that I learned when I was in Asia of how to get these prickly bits off. And it smells amazing. you know, and you just can't substitute concentrates and juices for the real thing. You know, you could get pineapple juice in a carton, but it's not so much like original pineapple anymore. It's become that concentration of pineapple, and it's often mixed with lots of sugar. Also, when you have an ingredient that's fresh off the tree, then it really has all its natural properties. It's pran. It's full of pran, which is that life energy, which gives us vitality. So, for example, in the supermarket, you can see like baby food, for example. You take an apple off the tree, fresh, and then you boil it down and then put it in a jar and then stick it on the shelf. And who knows how long it might be until you purchase that jar of apple puree. So by that time, food is actually considered really stale. And Ayurveda actually considers food as stale and having begun the decomposition process after about 4 hours. So you can see the difference. If you are what you eat, then we want to go for the freshest, most natural produce that we can get our hands on. So that's why fresh is always best. So I'm just showing you this little trick that I learned. You see these nice ridges? So that's a really good way of cutting the pineapple. You can just slice along these prickly parts, one side and then the other side, so you're making like a V shape, and then they just come out really nice and easy. Okay. So instead of that, you know, so-called organic baby food, you can just take an actual apple and then peel it and puree it and then give it to the children. And that is like full of life's energy. It's full of fruitiness, deliciousness, and it's so, so fresh. You really can't replace it with something that's pre-packaged and then stuck on a shelf. So here I'm going to cut out this fibrous part in the middle, which is difficult to digest. Okay. Here we have nice, easy to use cubes. And it just smells so good. It's so delicious and it's juicy and just so wonderful. Okay, so we're going to pop that in our blender. So if you're having problems with constipation or sluggish digestion, or you want a nice smoothie that you can take to work, this is a great smoothie. Again, these prunes are great. They're really well known for constipation. And if you soak them, it makes them even more digestible. Okay, these are also naturally sweet, so you really don't need to add any sweetness to this. You don't need to add any sugars or anything like that. Okay, so we'll just move this to the side. Then we're going to add our 2 cups of warm water. Like I was saying, the best thing for a smoothie is instead of using ice cold, try to use warm. Bring in warmth. So it can even be room temperature if you're not ready to go warm, but at least it should be warm. Okay. And then we're going to add our cardamom. So cardamom comes in 2 forms. This is its original form, these lovely pods that we have. Okay, but instead of using the pods, we're going to use the powder. So you take the seeds out of the cardamom and then they turn into a lovely powder. So I'm going to take this. Okay, so just about 1/4 teaspoon. Okay. So all of our ingredients are in the blender. We're going to turn it on, and it's going to be a little bit noisy, but bear with us. And there we go. So it's become this gorgeous caramel colour, and it's absolutely delicious. So let me just grab a glass. Here we are. This lovely, delicious pineapple and cardamom and prune smoothie. I always offer it up with a prayer and say my thanks. Namaste. Lovely. So good. It's tangy, it's citrus, but it's also warming from the cardamom. And it's just got this lovely like caramel flavour from the prunes too. And I'm not the biggest fan of prunes, but this is a really, really nice way of having your prunes. So I hope you enjoy. Namaste.